Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf. Remember my 2018 goals video, reading, writing, booktube? And one of the booktube goals was that I should be better doing tags. Well, it's the end, almost the end of March, and I haven't done a single one. So today I am doing a tag video, and the tag is the Future Classics book tag created by Eric over at The Lonesome Reader, which is a fantastic booktuber and also has a fantastic book blog. I'm sure you all know him and subscribe to him. If you're not, I'll leave a link down below. And he also tagged me, so I was tagged by the original tag creator, the Future Classics book tags. Now let's get into the questions, shall we? And the first question is, pick an established classic which you think will still be relevant in the future. And for this, I picked Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird, first published in 1960. I picked a 20th century modern classic because I think with classics, from Greek and Roman time, or even from the, 16th up to the 16th or 18th century, we know that they will be still be relevant in the future. But with the 20th century classic, so anyway, that was my reason to pick To Kill a Mockingbird. Harper Lee was an American author, if you don't know. She was born in 1926 and she just died a couple of years ago. She was from the Deep South, from Alabama, and the book, which is set in the early 1930s, 33 to 35, is also set in Alabama in a fictitious town called Macomb. The story is told by Scout Finch, Louise actually, but her nickname is Scout, a 10-year-old girl living with her father Atticus Finch and her brother Jem in Macomb. Her father Atticus is the town lawyer. And the story, just very briefly, because I'm sure all of you know, the story centers around a court case where a black man, Tom Robinson, is accused of having raped a white girl, Mayella, and Atticus is ordered by the judge to defend Tom. So this is a book about race in the United States, especially in the Deep South in the 1930s. And I think that the book, unfortunately, probably will still be relevant in the future because race is one of the big social issues, I think, in nowadays, certainly in Western countries. But it's also relevant because it asks questions about how to do the right thing. Atticus Finch, as a lawyer, is often portrayed as the quintessential good lawyer because he defends Tom Robinson even though he is attacked verbally and physically. But you can ask yourself, how well is this defense going, and is Atticus really doing all he could do in order to save Tom Robinson's life? So there's this question of, doing the right thing in difficult circumstances, which I think will be a relevant theme in the future in whatever kind of world we will live in. And it's also a coming-of-age story from Scout's perspectives, Louise, who will learn about the world through this experience of the court case. So there are three themes that I think are universal and will stay universal even, 100 years from now. This, by the way, is my very battered 50th anniversary edition, which I used when I still taught at law school, because this was one of the books that my students had to read. Anyway, so for the first question, my pick is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. On to the second question. Pick a recent book that has gone somewhat under the radar, but about which you feel confident that it will be a future classic. And for this one, I pick a 2017 release, Kamila Shamsie, Home Fire. Now, this book has gotten attention because it was shortlisted. It was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize last year, and it's now on the long list for the Women's Prize of Fiction. But I still feel that it has gone under the radar, especially because of the long listed twice, and still it doesn't get this much of attention. Now, Kamila Shamsie is author, Pakistani author writing in English, and she has written numerous novels. I think Home Fire is her 5th, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a very modern retelling of the Antigone myth. If you're not familiar with the myth, in Greek you have Antigone and her sister Ismene and one of their brothers Polynicus, and Polynicus dies, and because of all kinds of power struggles, the king of Creon, the king, forbids a burial of Polynicus, which is in Greek mythology is a really very harsh punishment, because the soul will not enter the afterlife if the body cannot be buried. So we have this struggle between Antigone and Ismene, what to do, whether to follow the king's order or not, whether to bury the brother or not. So it's a question, again, like with To Kill the Mockingbird, how to do the right thing. And what is the right thing? Is the right thing to follow the order of the ruler, the authority, to abide by the rules, or is there a higher order? The burial of a brother, is there a higher rule that you have to follow? And Home Fire is set in modern day London and the United States, and you have the main character, Isma, who has 2 siblings, modeled after Polynicus and Ismene, and the brother dies, and there is a terrorist plot involved, and it's the same question, how to do right by your brother, but also how to do right by the rules governing society. So I think this is a book that addresses questions that will be relevant no matter what time you read it. I also think the book is relevant because it deals with a very current question, namely terrorism, which might seem odd, because how can a current question be universal and be a classic? But because terrorism and is such a prevalent topic in the 20th and 21st century, I think that this will be a book that will give a portrait of a certain time, which is always interesting when you read a classic. So you have this combination of a timeless theme, but also a novel giving the picture of a portrayal of a certain time. And I think this combination of the two makes that Home Fire, in my opinion, at least should be a future classic. Question number 3. Pick a book title that won one of your favorite book prizes recently and which you think will still be lauded 50 years from now. I'm going to cheat a little bit here because one of my favorite book prizes is the Neustadt International Prize for Literature. And that's not a prize for a singular title, but for a body of work. And I always like book prizes who give a prize to a body of work, because it recognizes the author and his or her work. And the Neustadt International Prize for Literature is a biennial prize, so given every 2 years, and the prize in 2017 was for Edwidge Danticat, who is an author from Haiti, and I just talked about her in my Sunday video, Recent Reads, because I just recently read Claire of the Sea Light by her, but she has a very extensive body of work, mainly dealing with identity, and also very political, because it talks about politics in the poor countries, especially in Haiti. So I think her work is very relevant and will be very relevant in the future. And I like I said, I love this prize. So even though it's a little bit of a cheat, and she didn't get the prize for this book, but for her body of work, I think the Neustadt Prize for International Fiction is great. If you've never heard of it, I leave links down below. You can check out the previous winners from all over the world, which is another thing that I like about the prize. Anyway, on to the next question. Which is the fifth question. Pick a recent book that you haven't read yet, but about which you are confident that it might become a classic just because of what you heard about it, the reviews in papers or GoodReads, and things like that. And for this, I pick Why I'm No Longer Talking about to White People About Race, a 2017 release by Reni Eddo-Lodge. Reni Eddo-Lodge is an English writer, journalist, and this was her debut book about a non-fiction book about race. And I'm ashamed to say that I haven't read it yet, but I will read it certainly this year. But from what I hear people talk about it, I think it's an important book. And I already said with To Kill a Mockingbird that race relations is one of the big topics in our time, and it will probably remain a topic. And even if it wouldn't remain a topic, then it will still be relevant for future readers, to read about something that was so important in our time. So like I said, I haven't read it, shame on me, but I'm confident that it will be a future classic. And then the fifth and last question, lucky you, this will be a video under 15 minutes. Question number 5 is, pick a favorite book that you want to save for your grandchildren or your friends' grandchildren 50 years from now, and you want to read it. You want them to read it. And I had to think about this question for a long time because there's so many books, obviously, that I would want my friends' grandchildren 50 years from now to read. But then I thought what I really want is to tell them something about the power of books and the joy of reading. And so I picked a book about books, and that is Anne Morgan, The World Between Two Covers. This is the UK edition from 2015, and I think the English, the American edition is called Traveling the World or Reading the World or something, and has a different title. But anyway, so Anne Morgan is a freelance writer and editor from the UK, and I came across her. She has a blog where in 2011, she read only books by women. And then in 2012, she engaged in a new challenge, a Read Around the World challenge. So she would read, I think, 195 books from 195 countries, so all the recognized countries from the UN. And I think the book is... She then wrote a book about it, and the book is not just a list of the 190 something books. You have that list in the back, but she orders it thematically. So she, talks about books in translation and about banned books when she travels bookwise to various countries. And I love books about books. And I think this one, I just marked it on GoodReads for a reread when I was thinking about answering this question. And I think when you read it, first of all, you get a sense of how much is out there in all those different countries, and you probably normally don't read from those countries. So that's something that the reading list in the end, I think, would be something that I want, my friends' grandchildren 50 years from now to see, but also just the joy of reading and reading around the world. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble again. These were my answers to the tag. I'm not gonna tag anyone because this tag has been going around for a long time, and I think most people have been tagged. But if you haven't been tagged, consider yourself tagged by me if you like the questions. And I thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you all soon in my next video. Bye bye.